Hello guys, today we are going to deal with plant kingdom. I'm going to take up some of the parts of this. Basically, I'm going to discuss sexual reproduction in case of bryophytes, pteridophyte and gymnosperm. Herein, I will give you some insights about bryophytes and pteridophyte gymnosperms, and then I will discuss about their reproduction, because the sexual reproduction part is what trouble some of the people. I mean many people, most of the people. Therefore, I'm going to take it up here in this video, and then let me know in the comment section below if you like it. But let's start the video without wasting time. Now let's understand first of all that bryophyte condition. I mean, see, we are going to deal with bryophyte sexual production, right? So I'm gonna tell you some of the points so that you can easily relate to it, even if you are the beginner. So bryophytes. Bryophytes are called amphibians of plant kingdom. What does it mean? See, this means very simply that bryophytes actually live in land. I mean, live on land, of course, but they depend on water. They depend on water for their reproduction, which means they require water so that they can move through it and then come to the female one and then fuse with it so that it can form zygote and further things can happen. So, therefore, they require water. All right. I'm actually trying to keep it very simple because plant kingdom chapter is a lot big and you'll find so many examples right there. But I'm just keeping it simple so that I can explain you the topic here. All right. So here there'll be two types of okay. So there'll be two types of bryophytes. Now one is liverworts and other one is mosses. So in case of liverworts, the examples will be Markensia and Rixia. But what I'm trying to say is that what is the main body of bryophyte? That is gametophytic. Gametophytic body is the main. I'm gonna use GP for gametophyte and SP for sporophyte. Let me clarify. Now the liverworts is like thallus body, and I'm talking about the gametophytic body of bryophyte, like liverworts and mosses. So in case of bryophytes, like liverworts, they'll have the gametophytic body as if like thalloid, and here in case of mosses there will be stem like, leaf like and root like structures. These are not real roots, two roots, leaf or stem, because these are bryophytes, primitive. So this is a thalloid body in case of liverworts, and this is basically a main body in case of mosses, and this is called leafy body, leafy structure. So what I'm trying to say is that here you will find the gametophytic body like this, and here you'll find it like this. Let me tell you some more things about it. These are rhizoids, and herein rhizoids are unicellular. But here the rhizoids are multicellular, as you might have predicted. Now we are going to deal with the sporophytic body. Of course, there will be both the bodies in case of any plant, any division of plant. You will find both types of sporophyte and gametophyte so that they can complete their life cycle. Either if it is reduced, but it must be present, even if it is reduced. So, I was talking about the sporophyte of bryophytes. So, in case of that, you have to first of all understand that this is dependent on the gametophytic body, and this sporophyte, guys, is actually consisting of only three structures, and it is actually present on the gametophytic body. This is gametophytic body and this is sporophyte, and it has capsule. This is seta and this is foot. So it is foot, seta, capsule. And in case here this capsule actually is very important part. Why is it important? Because it actually undergoes meiosis to form spores, and I'll tell you how important spores are in life of these primitive divisions of plant. So they actually produce spore, therefore they're important. Now I'm going to deal with a basic structure of life cycle. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the basic structure. Let me have that heading here: life cycle. So in case of life cycle of these primitive people or these primitive plants, what are we going to have? The gametophytic body will produce two gametes, and these are end structures. Gamete will be male and female both, and this female will also have end, this will also have end. They'll fuse together to form zygote. That's very basic. I'm just doing it so that you can understand everything better. It will form embryo, and then it will form the sporophytic body. It will produce meiosis. I mean, it will produce spores via meiosis. Finally, produce the same gametophytic body. Now let me actually add on to some of the terminologies. Homosporous, heterosporous. See, what happens is that in case of homosporous, there will be only one type of spore, as if the name suggests. Um, but in case of heterosporous, there are two types of spores. One is for female and one is for male. So there are two types of spores. See, and there one more condition, that is dioecious and monoecious. Let me write monoecious first. And dioecious. So in case of monoecious, on same plant body, both the organs, female and male, both sex organs will be present, and on different plant body, female sex organ will be present, and on different plant body, male sex organ will be present of the same species. Okay, so this is called monoecious dioecious. See, some people think that homospores always give rise to monoecious plant because this one and this is also on one same plant body it is happening, but they are wrong. Actually, that's not true, because you'll find homospores in case of bryophytes, but yet you'll find some dioecious things. I mean, dioecious conditions there. And people think that in heterosporous condition there are two, like, so therefore they'll be always dioecious, and means dioecious condition is always in the case of heterosporous. That's not true. It is all also in case of homosporous. So that is not true. So therefore I'm trying to clarify here that in case of homosporous, you will find one, basically you will find only one spore, and this one spore will give rise to either of them, monoecious condition also, dioecious condition also. It depends on the chromosomal or the genetic ordering there, or what is the chromosome number that is fused in whatever, that is going to determine whether it is monoecious or dioecious. In dioecious also, whether it is female or male, that depends on this only. However, we can be sure that if it is heterosporous, it will always be dioecious. Yeah, if it is heterospheres, it will always be dioecious. See, now you'll think that basically in case of angiosperms, there are also dioecious monoecious conditions, even if they are always heterosporous. But see, that is a different condition because that is angiosperms. However, I'm just trying to clarify and just trying to keep it very short and simple that in case of dioecious, you can be sure that 99% cases you will always find dioecious condition in case of heterospores, because the female will always produce the female one and male spore will always produce the male spore one, because it is actually the spore of the female, so it will produce the female gametophyte. Spore of male will produce the male gametophyte. I hope it makes sense. Now let me move on to the basically the simple bryophyte sexual reproduction. So what happens is that, let me take a monoecious condition of a bryophyte. So you will find antheridium here and archegonium. I hope you know this. Archegonium is basically the female sex organ and antheridium is basically the male sex organ. Let me write if people don't know that. Antheridium and archegonium. So in case of antheridium and archegonium, what happens is that antheridium produces, of course, it's gamete because this is a gametophytic body. So antheridium produces gamete, and these gametes are called antheriozoids. Antheriozoids. These antheriozoids travel via water chemotactically, which means through chemical, and then it finally reaches this archegonium and then fuses with the egg cell present in there, and after fusion they actually form zygote. This zygote will develop into embryo, An embryo will develop into the sporophyte, which is 2n structure. How? Because zygote was also 2n, it also mitotically divided, so 2n. Here it was n structure, both combined to form 2n structure. So here this sporophyte will be present. Now see, this sporophyte condition will again give rise to gametophyte. You think how? So basically here the spores will be produced and this spore will give rise to gametophyte. We don't know which gametophyte will be it, either it is monoecious, dioecious, or female or male or whatever not. That depends on the spore of spores. That depends on the chromosomes of the spores. How, what is the chromosome fusion or whatever there is, that depends on it. But what matters to us is that it will directly give rise to gametophyte. That's it. I hope it makes sense. Now I'm gonna discuss about pteridophytes. In case of pteridophytes, guys, it's very simple to understand that pteridophytes will have both the conditions, homosporous and heterosporous. So we'll take up both the conditions and understand what is the gametophytic body and sporophytic body in case of these two types of pteridophytes. But before that, let me have some basic terminologies in so that you can understand everything well. So, sporophyll. Sporophyll is just the leaf. Actually, here you will find true leaves, true stem, and true roots. So these are the true leaves of this pteridophyte. So true leaves of pteridophyte are sporophyll. Now this sporophyll, for example, like this, will have sporangium in it. Sporangium in it. So these are what? Sporangium. And when these sporophylls combine together with each other, then they form strobili, which is a plural word for strobulus, but they form strobili. For example, there are so many strobili. Then it is strobili. So basically, they fuse together to form strobili, which means that strobili is a actually group of sporophyll only. There is nothing complicated in that. So these are the basic terminology that I wanted you to learn. And of course, in female and male, they'll be different. In case of heterospores, it will be megasporangium and microsporangium, depending on whether it is female or male. So that is what I wanted to tell you. Now, in case of pteridophyte, let me write. In case of pteridophytes, you will find both the conditions, homosporous and heterosporous also. So in case of homosporous, the gametophytic body, of course, first of all, that this is advanced, not advanced, I would say, but it is moving towards being modernized. Therefore, it is main body is sporophytic. So there will be sporophytic body also and gametophytic body also. Famous example of pteridophytes, if you want me to give that, it will be ferns. Okay, ferns are the famous example. Then you also have some of the examples like Slaginella and other like Equisetum. So these are the examples. However, if you want me to give you example of homospores and heterospores, then I'll give that homospores, heterospores, homospores as a common condition of pteridophytes, but in case of heterospores, you'll find Slaginella, Equisetum, Equisetum. Okay, so these are the examples, and Marsilia also. So, in case of Homosporus, the gametophytic body is very much inconspicuous, small, but it's free living and it's photosynthetic, so it is green, and this is called prothallus. In case of Homosporus species, mind you, it is Homosporus species, and sporophyte in this case will be simply like a normal plant. Will have leaf, will have roots, will have stem as well. Means it is simple like normal plant because it has true root, true leaf, true stems. And of course there'll be the cones that will be present and everything that I told you, that sporophyll will be present, strobili will be present, and everything will be present. I'll tell you how simply we can just have the sexual reproduction of homosporous species herein. Now for heterosporous species, The difference is that the gametophytic body will be different, which means there will be female gametophytic body, there will be male gametophytic body, and the sporophytic body will always also be different, of course, female and male. Now, talking about the homosporous species, how homosporous species have their, in case of pteridophyte, homosporous species. So, in that case, if I talk about the simple sporophyte, so they will have the, of course, their sporophyll will be present, sporophyll, and this sporophyll will have sporangium in it. Now, this sporangium will have spore mother cell, of course, and spore mother cell will be 2n structure because this sporangium is 2n, because this sporophyll is 2n, because sporophyte is 2n. Now, this will produce spores, and we don't have any particular spore like megaspore, macrospore here because this is a homosporous species. Now, talking about this spore is n, and now this spore will produce a gametophytic body, which is simply prothallus. And now here the prothallus will be produced. This prothallus will be, of course, free living, green, photosynthetic, inconspicuous, and very small. This gametophytic body will again form the gametes, and then it will, kind of fuse, which means, for example, it is prothallus, it will have both of the, it can be monoecious, dioecious, as I told you, that depends, but it will produce the gametes and they'll fuse together to form zygote and everything, embryo, zygote, everything will be formed. Afterwards, directly you can get the sporophyte back, and the main plant body of the pteridophytes will be back here. This is a simple thing that you can find in homosporous species. Now, talking about heterosporous species, which kind of become complicated, but I'm gonna get simple. I'm gonna actually make it simple for you. So, heterosporous species of pteridophytes. So, guys, what I'm gonna do here is that there will be two types of spores here. Actually, there will be two types of sporophyte: male sporophyte, and female sporophyte. So, in case of male sporophyte, they will have microsporophyll, and in case of, let me actually complete here first of all, microsporophyll and microsporangium. This microsporangium will have microspore mother cell, and this will actually do meiosis to form microspore. Of course, meiosis will give rise to four structure. One meiosis give rise to four structures. So one microspore will give rise to four structures. Here also, in case of pteridophytes, there is no difference, but in gymnosperm we'll actually find that one megaspore mother cell give rise to four megaspores, but only one is functional. However, in this case, you just don't have to bother about it. So let me actually erase. Okay, now this megaspore, guys, is gonna give rise to what? Of course, it will give rise to male gametophyte. Oh, why am I writing female? Male gametophyte. Now, this male gametophyte will give rise to male sex organ. And what is that? Antheridium. Just I'm writing singular. And this antheridium will give rise to antherozoids and water, and this antherozoid will move towards archegonium, and as in we did in bryophytes, it will just fuse together with archegonium. Now, here in case of female, the sporophyte will have megasporophyll, and this will produce megasporangium. This megasporangium will have megaspore mother cell. This will produce megaspores, and these megaspores will produce female gametophytic body. This female gametophytic will have archegonium, and archegonium will have archegonium will have, of course, single egg cell. Each archegonium will have single egg cell. So what will happen is that simply archegonium antherozoids is going to fertilize this single cell, or I can say egg cell, through water. Of course, chemotactically they will move towards the archegonium, and then they will fertilize the egg. And after fertilization they'll form, of course, the zygote. After fertilization they'll form zygote, and zygote will form embryo. And after embryo formation they will form the sporophytic body. There'll be 2n, because it was also 2n. And this sporophytic body will again do the same thing that was done here. So we will get the same sporophytic body in case of pteridophytes. That was the main body for it. So that is very nice. We did it. Now I'm gonna do gymnosperms now. See, gymnosperm is going to get little complicated. I'm telling you some hints so that you can understand why it is going to get complicated. But before that, I'm going to actually add on some of the points here, because these are very important, which are seed habits. Actually, precursor of seed habits. See, what are precursor of seed habits? What is going to happen is that this female gametophyte, in case of pteridophytes, is going to be present on sporophyte. Okay, is going to be present on the parent sporophyte. All right, so it is going to be present on the parent sporophyte. This female gametophyte. This is the one thing that is actually precursor of the seed habit. And the second one is that this embryo will be present on archegonium only. It will be present in the archegonium only, which means it is formed inside the archegonium. So it is also another habit which actually tells you that seed habit is going to come in the next divisions. So that is important to understand that this is actually true. Now see what is going to happen next. See what is going to happen next. In case of gymnosperm, what is happening is that they are also heterosporous. They are also heterosporous, which means they have both of the cells, which are male and female. So male sporophyte and female sporophyte. This male sporophyte will give rise to the same thing, the sporophyll and everything. Let me actually write sporophyll, microsporophyll, and then it will give rise to the megasporophyll, and then it will give rise to the microsporangium. It will give rise to the microspores, and after that this microspore will give rise to the male this microspore will just give rise to the male gametophyte, and here in this case it is just pollen grain. But here in this case megasporophyll will give rise to the megasporangium, and this megasporangium is going to give rise to the megaspores. There will be four megaspores, out of which 1 2 3 4, these all are not functional, only one of them is functional. So this megaspore is of course going to give rise to the female gametophyte, and this female gametophyte in this case, guys, is actually called ovule. Oh sorry, this also is called endosperm, and this sporangium is actually called ovule. And of course, yeah, you'll also have the spore mother cell, megaspore mother cell. And these megaspore mother cell, guys, is actually formed by the parenchymatous cells. See, this sporangium is present on leaf, right? It is the sporophyll. Now, this sporophyll will have sporangium. Each sporangium will have some cells in it, which are called nucellus. Now, these cells, one of the nucellus actually specialized to form spore mother cell, megaspore mother cell, and this one give rise to the megaspores. Now, afterwards, this megaspores will give rise to the female gametophytic body, which is endosperms. And endosperms is formed. How is it formed? See, megaspore will actually go on the free nuclear division, which means um, karyokinesis is not followed by cytokinesis, free nuclear division. Now see, what is happening is that this new this endosperm will be like this. Okay, this is endosperm. Now this endosperm is actually present in the ovule, which is sporangium, and this sporangium of course is present on the sporophyll. There will be many sporangium in that sporophyll. So it is present in the sporophyll, sporangium, and this sporangium is actually ovule. So in ovule, there is this female gametophyte, and this female gametophyte has archegonium also, wherein egg cells are present. So these are archegonium, and these archegoniums have egg cell. Now what will happen is that these pollen grain will go with the help of wind, will go towards it and will fuse with the egg cell and will form zygote. And this zygote will form embryo. Embryo will again form the sporophytic body, which are of course sporophytic body, which means in this case it will form the gymnosperm, because we are talking about gymnosperms. So here this will produce a naked seed, because here directly this ovule is producing these all things, so it is not covered by ovary and anything, so it will produce the naked seeds, and hence it is called gymnosperms. Seeds are naked, therefore this is called gymnosperms. So I think everything is clarified in this video, and if there is some doubt about it, you can ask me in comment section below. Thank you guys for watching this video, and bye.